Hello, this is Frankie from aboutscript, and in this video I'm going to be teaching about setting up a default scene for Blender. So in Blender, this is what it looks like when you load it up, at least in my version, and it doesn't really have much of what you probably want and what's going to be most productive for you. So in order to fix that, we're going to be changing some things in this scene to make it what we would like to start with every time we open up a new file in Blender by going File, New, or when you open Blender. So the first thing that really bothers me is the camera. So if I go to the camera view, you notice that this cube is sort of off center and the camera's at an awkward angle that we're probably never going to leave it at when we actually make something in Blender. So the first thing I'm going to do is press Shift S. I'm just going to turn on screen keys so that you can see what I'm doing here. And we're going to be putting our camera in the correct position. So we press Shift S and say cursor to center, which is going to put it right in the middle. And then we press Shift S again, selection to cursor. So now we have our camera in the middle, and we're going to press Alt R to reset the rotation of it. Also, another thing that I'd like to do right now is turn off perspective by pressing the 5 key on the number pad. Now our camera's over here, but it's not facing the center of our scene, so we press R, and then we type -90. What this is going to do is have it facing directly forward, and if we press Z, you see we're looking straight on our cube. Another thing that I like to do is press GZ1 and hit enter when we're in edit mode, and now we have our cube, and the origin of it is on the bottom, which means that if we look flat, we're looking directly at our ground plane here, we can scale it up and make a quick room or backdrop for our scene. Also, I'm going to get rid of this little light here, which I don't like very much, and I'm going to add a sun lamp to give our scene some nice even lighting. Move it back towards the camera, rotate it -90, and now it's facing forward, and maybe we can pull it up a little bit and push it down like that. I also want to set my render engine to cycles and come over to my rendering settings over here. So most people don't end up using 50%. You either put it at 100 or you're going to be changing it to a different preset. Also, we want to set our sampling properly. So I like to set my samples to a very large number, such as 314159, and then come down here and go to progressive refining. And for very complex rendering tasks, you might set that up separately or in a different way, but for us that's going to be great. Also static BVH, and check these options just to make things move quickly in our workflow. I have plenty of hard drive space, so using a few extra megabytes of it temporarily isn't going to be an issue. I like to set the light path to full global illumination. Come over to our world settings until we want to use nodes, and we want this to just be a nice white background for our image. Also, use nodes, and we're going to have this be our default material. What I'm not going to do right now, but a lot of times what I like to do is create a bunch of base colors by going and putting this up, and then incrementing this hue as something like 0.333, and then 0.666, and saturation all the way up, and then we get our red, our green, and our blue, which is a nice thing to have to start with. Also, for these colors, I set the viewport color so that we can see it when we're moving around. So now we have our rendering engine set properly, we have a nice cube in the middle, and we can go into our camera view and then just quickly make some subtle changes such as this, and we're going to be able to render a nice and very clean starting image. Here you can do all sorts of things like tweak the lighting, but we want to keep our default scene looking very nice and simple. One more thing that I like to do is go into here and get rid of a lot of these things that I never have used. For example, I've never used video editing or motion tracking, or I believe there's one more, game logic. Since I never work with games, this just gets in the way of my workflow, and I can't use the control right and left keys to switch between things effectively. Also the 3D view, I just go into my default view and press Control up when I'm hovering over this, and it basically gives me the same thing. So I try to get rid of those. You can also reorder these with a little trick. Say you want your compositing to be the first one. If you put 1 in front of it, and you go to your default view, and you put 2 in front of that, you notice that this list is sorted alphabetically, and rather lexicographically, so numbers will always be in order, which is nice. And now we can go up here, say File, and Save as Startup File. And whenever you press New, it's going to load this scene. So that's going to be it for this video, and more quick Blender tips coming soon. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.